And lastly, I think what I like about having different experiences besides animation, is that sometimes you can learn something from another field and translate that to your own field.
You're listening to Creative Leadership with Heart, a podcast that inspires people to take action and be the leader they were born to be. I'm Coach Rico, and I'm known for coaching and training executives, leaders, founders, and high performers at Fortune 100 businesses, startups, and more. I'm here to answer your questions about leadership and personal development while also asking you questions that can unlock your untapped potential. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Creative Leadership with Heart. Today, my special guest, Sam Pagan. He's an animation and creative coach. He's a lighting and composition artist, and you probably saw a lot of his work. He's formerly of Nickelodeon Animation and Gladius Studios. Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. So, folks, you listen closely to this one. There's going to be a lot of gold nuggets in this one, especially if you are navigating the world of creative. So, Sam, first, just a little bit of orienting people. Tell us a little bit about your journey, where you went to school, what made you choose animation, composition, and just a little bit about your creative background.
Yes, of course. First off, did I freeze?
Yeah, you did freeze.
Oh no. I don't know what happened.
Hold on, let me pause. All right, folks. Sorry about that. I just had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're back with Sam Pagan. And Sam, as we were getting into it, tell us a little bit about your journey, how you decided to make creative your career, and how you got to where you are so far.
All right then. So I'm originally from Puerto Rico, and I was never related to art whatsoever, or at least visual arts. I was always into sports. I was a clarinet player for 10 years. I was into soccer or football if you're in Europe uh, for also 10 years, swimming. I did a lot of things when I was growing up. I really liked camping, bow and arrow, you name it. So it was nothing art related or visual arts. And then when I hit college, I didn't know what to do. So I went into engineering, and in the side, I found about a software called After Effects, and it intrigued me. There was this website called Video Copilot, where it became very famous for After Effects, and I would learn some how to make some intros and how keyframes worked and very basic animations. And then I would do like visual effects with my friends, and because I did some camping with the church, like I would get into those events and say, "Hey, I volunteered to make an intro for your camp. I would volunteer to record you guys or make a nice like highlight reel of the camp and stuff like that." So I did that for many years, and that's how I got interested into into digital visual software and cameras and stuff. And then while I was doing that, I was very doubtful if I wanted to be an engineer. And long story short, I changed careers many times. I changed careers 5 times. And then I finally landed into animation in a different school in another city and stuff. And finally, when I saw like 3D, I saw somebody using like 3D software for the first time, rotating like it was a video game. I was so fascinated. I was like, what? Such thing exists? What is this? What is this software? It's like, oh yeah, it's called Maya. Maya, okay, cool. And that was around 2015. So 2012 was when I found After Effects. 2015, I found about 3D animation, and then I said, this is it. I'm going all in. And because I had changed so many times, I felt so bad on, you know, changing so many times that I said, you know what? I'm going to dedicate myself. I am not going to take any holidays. I'm going to be from the moment the school opens until it closes. I'm going to be at the school learning anything, if it's Illustrator or Photoshop or whatever. I'm going to learn everything. I'm going to be very dedicated to this because I spent a lot of time already. And long behold, 3 years later, I graduate. I find my first job. Uh, I spent 3 years there in doing commercials, doing animated series, and then finally in 2021, I applied to Nickelodeon because of a bet that a friend of mine made me do, and I was selected to have an interview. Finally, after 6 months of interviews and stuff like that, I was selected to get hired by Nickelodeon, and then I formally got into the big leagues.
Nice. That's crazy. A bet got you into Nickelodeon. Uh,
Yep.
I want to get
A
yeah, I want to
bet.
get more into that a little bit later. But there's some things I love that you talked about. I too played the clarinet from 7 years old all the way
Oh,
to high school. Um, but from so you did mention like you saw a 3D artist like working in the lab, but was there a moment that like you're like this is what I want to do? Was it that moment, or was there like seeing a game, or what was the moment where you knew like okay, after the 5 different careers that I could have done, this is the one I want to do because I love it.
that was the moment. That was the
Yeah.
moment. Yeah,
Did you
definitely.
know what game he was working? Is that game released or is that game?
No, I just went to the university for a
Yeah.
tour, and like this is my first university going that has any animation career.
Yeah.
And as I was touring, I entered this room where there's a lot of students, and they're all using a 3D software, and then that was just mind blowing to me.
Nice. Now tell us a little bit more about this bet. So you were I'm guessing you were at Gladius Studios at the time.
Yeah,
So what were the terms of the bet and how did it come about? And are you glad you took it?
I I think so. Yeah, yeah, no,
Yeah.
I am very glad. No, the bet was my friend. Her name is Roy, and she has always believed in me, in my potential, and she was always talking about, Sam, you gotta get out of here, Puerto Rico. You gotta go somewhere, like you don't belong here. I'm like, wow, this is my home. No, but she was always saying that, and she said, I said, yeah, I will do it. And one day she was like, no, you're never gonna do it. I was like, what? Yeah, you're never gonna do it because I know you won't do it. And I was like, you want to bet? And she's like, yes. This is January. I will put a deadline in August 1st. If you don't make a reel and you don't apply, you owe me $100. I was
Nice.
like, okay, it's on. And every day from January to August, because she was my coworker next to me, she would put it in the desktop. I don't know, it was like a widget or something, but it was really well displayed. A countdown, 108 days and 23 hours and 10 seconds.
Nice.
And she would like minimize all the windows, go like, I go like, all right, I'm still not ready. I'm still preparing the demo reel. And finally, July came, and I didn't know anything about the Nick Arts program, which was the program that I got to Nickelodeon.
Mhm.
Apparently, that's the opening date. So I was like, oh, perfect. I have 1 month left. Let's get things, wrapped up. Let's get all the work. And finally, I made a demo reel, applied to Nickelodeon, and a month later, they call me, and I didn't even remember I did that. Like, oh, this is Nickelodeon. I was like, Nickelodeon? Why is Nickelodeon calling me? You applied? Oh, right. I did. And long story short, that's how it happened. The bet.
Nice. And I'm glad you took the bet because now you're able to do the things you're doing now. But tell us a little bit about what it was like to work at Nickelodeon for folks who either strive to be or are curious about what it's like to work at Nickelodeon.
Right. It was mind blowing. First of all, it's a corporation, so I've never been in. Up to that point, I didn't. I hadn't been in a corporation nor anything like it. I was in a small studio, so it's different. Though the lingo is different. Like everything is very well structured. There's a way things to do. There's a pipeline that's really well structured. There's roles. There's already a culture. And somebody who comes from Puerto Rico, where here, because the business side of things in terms of animation is very new, we just try to imitate, what's outside. But here was more formal and more, you know, already had a history. So there was a lot of vocabulary I had to learn. Um, there was a lot of people that were helping me to get my foot on the door. And what I mean by that is that when you get in, like, oh, this is how you write emails, and this is how you introduce yourself to other people. This is how you navigate, knowing other colleagues. And if you want to talk to a superior, this is how you do it. And actually, you can, because you work at this place. Like, oh, really? You don't? I don't bother? No, like you can and you must. In fact, we will at the beginning, we will create those opportunities for you because it was the pandemic, and they wanted me to expose myself to the studio. So they would schedule for me meetings with directors and producers and writers. So it was an amazing experience, especially because of the Nick Arts program. They already know you're new into the big leagues. So it was a whole introduction of this is how corporations work. These are all the opportunities that you can do, and we want you to manifest them as much as possible.
Nice. And what would you say? I'm going to ask you two things. What was the biggest surprise, maybe pleasant surprise, and then what was the biggest challenge for you during this time?
The biggest surprise the biggest surprise was how embracive everyone was, how welcoming people were. What was the surprise, and what else?
The biggest challenge.
The biggest challenge, definitely imposter syndrome. Even when like I ended the contract, like I never got fully over it, because when you're working at a big studio, everyone just has decades of experience beyond you.
Hmm.
So it didn't matter how much effort I would put, it still felt like I'm still like in the bottom. And yeah, that was the biggest challenge, to say, you know what, I actually know stuff. It's just that um i'm 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 underestimating myself. I'm putting people on the pedestal. I know all these concepts. It's just like these people just know it way quicker than me, maybe, and maybe they're more uh verbally competent than me at that time. So yeah, that was the biggest challenge. Is just imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a lot of like that was the biggest challenge for me coming up, and also like people I have to coach and like leading large creative teams. Most creatives are introverted. I'm not saying all. So for those people that are listening, I'm not saying that all, but a good amount of creatives, at least on my team at Netflix, were introverted, and a lot of them dealt with imposter syndrome. They felt like everyone here is the best at what they do. What am I doing here? But
Right.
they forget that you are also hired into this place. So you are also the best at what you do. So don't forget that. Right. And that's something I had to remind myself because I'd always tell myself everyone across the table is the smartest person that does what they do. But I never put that same thought into myself. And I think that's what a lot of like creatives we do that we forget how much talent we have, we forget how smart we are, we forget what got us there, and we're
Yeah.
just in awe of everybody else. Um,
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm gonna pivot into like what you're doing now. You are coaching folks, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your mission, and then tell us. We'll get into like what it is you help folks do. So what is your goal with your coaching? Like, what do you want? What kind of impact do you want to have with folks?
Right. So the impact I want to help students get into the animation industry. Uh, Most of people that are interested in animation and pursue an animation degree, uh, they get to graduation and they have an expectation that the university will help them, that everything will just build itself up, specifically the fourth year of their college. And it just happens that very few people actually make it. And I compare myself like, oh, how did I do it? and like what now that I've been at Nickelodeon and I know what are the standards, like how can I help those who don't understand what the standards are to give them a little push, like, hey, tweak this in your portfolio, let's compare it to a professional one. Ah, okay, so it seems like you're displaying this about character design, but there's a whole world about character design that the industry is already expecting that you know. And wow, I didn't know that. Yes, like this is the little proportion that they taught you in the 3 months of class of character design at university, and they're expecting this amount of of knowledge. So we got to work on that. Okay, so what are my resources? And then I coach, I say, okay, you have these resources. You can learn here, you can learn with me, you can learn through this workshop. Highly recommended. I tell them, like, I have a friend that did this workshop and 2 years later found a job. This other friend took this other workshop and like now has clients. So I recommend them to places that I know that work. So that's my job.
Yeah, and we talked about earlier when we first chatted about the podcast. We talked about setting a common understanding, right? And we were talking about like how in the corporate world, I had to define what good looks like using the same language, nomenclature, all that stuff, and kind of normalizing that. And you were talking about the same thing. You would, and I don't want to give it away. I want you to explain it. But you were even talking about going very, very back to basics on like, okay, what is composition? What is this? Right. And you created your own framework for coaching. So can you talk a little bit about what that process was in creating that and then how that actually helps your clients and students establish their portfolio and like talk about it in a more meaningful way?
Of course. So I find that in the art world, whenever you ask somebody like how to make a portfolio, how does a good portfolio look like, they're very vague in their language because it's a visual domain. How can you verbalize a visual standard? So the way I found to approach it, and it was very, very effective, was I compare you to what good looks like, just like you said. So I take a professional portfolio. Let's say you tell me, "Hey, Sam, I want to do character design. I want to be hired as a character designer." So I'll take a professional character design that I've already studied, and I know all the qualities, and I've talked to already character designers at Nickelodeon that tell me, look, this is what we're looking for. Look at this portfolio. Look at look at from a design perspective what we're looking for in terms of colors, understanding color, understanding shape language, understanding weight, understanding posing, understanding story, understanding, like they would describe everything. And I was like, oh, I can see it now. Yeah, of course. So I did a whole research on like with professionals, like what is the standard of everything. And then I took all that collection of portfolios and I took students in and I come in. And the common story is that everyone that has graduated, they already feel they're ready. No matter like how much effort they did on university, not even that. They just feel ready because they already completed a 4 year degree. So they come here, and then if I tell them verbally, oh, you just need this, it's very untangible. It's very untangible for them to understand. So what I'm doing is I get a portfolio, a professional one, compare them to theirs, and then visually start outlining with a pencil. Look at this shape. Look at yours. Look at how many colors, and then I'll like take the color palette, or I'll take how. Okay, so she's a forest princess, right? So what if we made her a fire princess? Like, would green make sense? And they're like, no. So that's what you're doing in your portfolio. You're putting colors just for it to look pretty, but it has nothing to do with helping the audience determine that this is a forest princess. Are you understanding now? And they're like, oh, now I get it. So when they say pick a color, means like be more intentional about story. Perfect. Awesome. Let's proceed. And we break down everything visually, go like ta 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 ta. And finally, when they get out, like, I know exactly what I have to do now. I have to do this, I have to do that. And it's because you compare to what good looks like.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, that's great, and it's almost like, uh, when people come out of college, they have a degree and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to take on the world." But
Mhm.
there's this like whole other thing where like it's a different thing and this is where, you experienced that you went to work, but where, theory and education versus real world experience, right? And so I have nothing against I went to college and I have a degree and like all those things. So I have nothing against that, nothing against like MBAs and things like that. But for me, when people will ask, "Oh, would you do an MBA or would you go to work?" My default answer is I would go to work because I'd rather get paid to learn to do it in real life than to pay someone else to teach me on theory, right? And it's so like what you're doing is you're taking what's going on in real life and bridging the gap between graduation date and like interview, case study, portfolio review date, right? Um,
Exactly right.
yeah, so that's amazing. So what other things do you help people with? So you help them with portfolios. What other challenges are a lot of clients that come to you? What other challenges are they facing?
So they will. I'm very known for networking. I I give seminars. I can give a 3 hour seminar of networking. I can give like a 5 hour seminar of networking. Like I'm very known for that. And even in college, I was already known for that. They will call me the network king. Um, I'm pretty sure it's not original, but that's how my friends called me. And it's because I have a tendency of connecting with people in an organic way in a real life situation, which is very unusual in the art world because, like you said, most people are introverted. But I had a natural way of just approaching people, and then in my coaching sessions, they ask about it. So what I did, just like in the art in the portfolio part, where oh this is what good looks like, I would take my conversations, blur the people and private information, and just show them how I reached out to someone from Blizzard, someone from DreamWorks, someone from Nickelodeon, someone from a BFX studio. And they're like, what? You sound so casual. I'm like, yes. And this is why it works. And then I'll break down very in depth subjects like trust. Like the reason they answered is because I made my LinkedIn profile in the most trustworthy way. What does a trustworthy way profile looks like? Okay, let's go study my profile. A great profile picture of your face. Make it seem friendly, at the same time professional. A cover photo, showcase what you do. The headline, it should clearly say clarity. It should clearly say what you do. If you tell people what you do, maybe they will trust you more. In fact, if people just saw, like if people just search art director and your headline says art director, now I know what you do without even meeting you. So, and then I go check their profiles, no cover photo, no even profile picture. And I sometimes laugh because I sometimes think one student will do it. No, many students will ask me, "Is my portfolio fine?" And I kid you not, they don't have a profile picture. It's like that. So I'll go like, okay, let's fix that. Do you have a profile picture? And then we'll scroll, scroll, scroll. And I remember this girl. She was like, "Wait, hold on. This is like Tinder." And I'm like, "It is like Tinder." And she would look at my conversations like, "You're just like, you sound like somebody who would text on Tinder like casually. I'm like, well, you think about it, you're meeting people, are strangers, they have to trust you, they have to have some sort of convenience. Why would they talk to you? Oh, because you are an illustrator. Imagine, and then I put hypotheticals like imagine I I in my headline it said manager for food products, and I reach out to you as an illustrator. Will you trust me? Like, is there any is there any sense? Does it make any sense that I would reach out to you for somebody from food products? And they answer no. Exactly, it wouldn't make sense. But you gotta add some stuff that would make it sense that somebody that is also in your domain, it is convenient for them to reach out to you too. That's why my messages work, because I filter so much just with my profile that when I reach out, I don't even introduce myself. I don't even pitch. I don't even go like, hi, my name is Sam Pagan. I'm a lighting and compositing artist, uh, a Nickelodeon, and blah, 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 blah. None of that. It's go straight to the point, talking all about them. I make it all about them. Hey, I just saw your portfolio on texturing. That project from blah 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 looks so real. Like, how, like, is it real? Is it really 3D? And they're like, yes, that's 3D. Thank God you noticed. And then suddenly I don't have to pitch. I don't sound
Mm-hmm.
saleship. I am found genuine, and they have and they go to the profile and all the pitch, they found it there. What does he do? He does this, that nickel. He for a lighting compositing artist. He worked at where, and what is his name, and what does he look like, and can I trust him? All that is on the profile. Why would I put all of that into the DM? So they look at my conversations, and I just like you said, if you just show them what good looks like, they go like, I understand. No need to even like talk about this anymore. I'm just gonna change, and I'm just gonna imitate some of the things that you did, and see if it works for me. So
Yeah, I mean that's so. It's crazy how some people don't understand that. Like I made a video the other day about personal brand because some people were like, I don't care about my personal brand. I don't want a personal brand, et cetera, et cetera. But if you Google your name, whatever shows up, like it or not, that's your personal brand. And so you can either control your narrative, or you can let other people tell your story for you. And so what I hear you saying, right, even with your LinkedIn profile, is like be the person that you want people to know you for, and like be human, like be relatable. And if you want to be in an industry, you have to do what is needed to be in that industry, right? Like you can't. It's almost funny because I do coach some people with their career, like they want to do career pivots and stuff like that. And when I look at their LinkedIn profile, they just have like the company they work for. They don't, and the title. They have so nothing about what they do there, nothing about the team that they build or anything like that. And they're like, "Yeah, I've been applying for jobs, but I don't, no one's calling me back." I'm like, "Well, that's because they go to your LinkedIn and like it says nothing about you. They don't
yeah.
know anything about you, except maybe that you're an art director and you worked at like these three places, but there's like nothing else about you."
Hmm.
So it's important that what you're talking about, and you're teaching from a LinkedIn perspective, but it can go beyond that, like your personal brand. And celebrities know this real well because the minute something shows up on Instagram or Twitter or something that's not good to them, they know it's affecting their personal brand. So whether we like it or not, we have one, and it's better
Yeah,
to control it than to not.
you're right. That's exactly
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and that's a great lesson to learn. Um, okay,
I want to add
getting it.
something.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't blame them. I don't blame them, because I was also in that position not long ago. Like,
Mhm.
seeing yourself from a third person perspective, it's not easy. Like, yourself, and for example, in social media, there's not like a real-time feedback of, oh, when I change the headline, 70% of the work is done. Right? There's no real-time feedback. While maybe us as creatures that that have tended to depend more on the natural world, where, oh, if I wear this, people look at me like this, real time feedback. When I speak like this or in this tone, people react like this, real time feedback. But when it's about social media, it's just harder. There's no real time feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, all right, getting into. Oh, well, one more thing first. So, if people want to work with you, what's the best way if they want to consult with you, become a client, have like someone review their portfolio? Like, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Perfect. Yes. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Just type Sam Pagan 10. That's my username. You can find the scheduling there. Just look for book appointment and you'll find it there. Another way is sampaganacademy.com. You can go to that website and you can also schedule it there. And you can even DM me on Instagram. It's also at sampagan10. So all my usernames are all connected. They're at sampagan10. So you can find me in any platform at sampagan10.
Cool. And thank you for that. We'll put all those links in the show notes. So if you didn't write it down, don't worry. You can go back and rewind it if you want, but you can also just jump into the show notes. Okay, perfect. Sam, now I want to get into some advice. So knowing what you know now, and maybe you've given it over the course of this podcast, but knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your younger self?
No business. It's so helpful, man. It's so helpful. I wish I knew business before doing all of this, because the narrative that I pursued was do what you're passionate of. And that's a great way to start. Like, do something that you're passionate about. But then how do you convert that into and make a living out of it? That's the business side of things. And when you don't understand that part, you as an artist, you become very resentful because you spend time maybe learning a style. You spend time, you know, you pay for workshops, you invest, and suddenly like the the outcome doesn't just generate, like it doesn't happen for you. And but the moment that you start learning about business, how you become valuable to the marketplace, that's when you're like, oh wait, that's what it is. So if that's the case, then this is how I will build my LinkedIn. This is how I will build my portfolio. In terms of business, there's got to be clarity of what is the product that I'm selling. So if I want to do web designs as a living, if I have a portfolio that showcases all web designs, and people can clearly see that you're a web designer, the probability that I will be a web designer as a living will be higher. But that only comes when you understand when you understand business. Uh, and I think most people will just benefit even if you're not doing art. Like if you studied science, or you studied um, if you studied any other career, at the end they all end up in a business, don't they? So if you want to race, if you want to be a leader in a corporation, if you if you want to make an impact, or you want to people give you the status that that you wish you had, play the game of business and suddenly the results will go up. So that's what I would do. I would just learn more about business.
Nice. And was it you're a coach now, but was there any mentor you had, or did you have a coach? And would you recommend that for other people?
Oh yes, I do, and this is very life changing. So I just watch business content. My favorite one is Alex Harmozy. He's been very viral for the past year, but I in Spotify you can watch his podcast called The Game.
Yep.
And I'm so obsessed with it that I was in the 0.1% of viewers last year, with accumulating more than 6,200 minutes just in 2023. And this year is going like higher. So I became very obsessed with that podcast, and I think if you would just watch the 700 episodes that you listen to the 700 episodes, there's no way you're not gonna understand it, because the way he explains things, it's just so simplified to the normal human being
Hmm.
that you'll be surprised how you can also understand business. So that's the first place I would tackle. The rest ones that I hear are Chris Doe from the future, but I didn't understand him until I watched Alex Ramosi first. So I think Alex Ramosi is beginner friendly. And the third one I see is Chris Doe. There's this third one. I just went blank, but I have another one. So if I remember, I'll
Yeah.
tell it before
Yeah.
the
I mean,
podcast.
no, those are great. Like I also follow Hormozy and Christo. I've been following Hormozy for a long time, and yeah, you're right. He makes it in very like consumable. Uh, he makes complicated concepts consumable and easy to understand, right? And I have
Yeah.
both of his books. I went through his free courses, all that stuff. Um, and then yeah, Christo, a friend of mine met him at was it Adobe Max? Because he
Mm,
always has a booth at Adobe Max, and he did
yeah.
an interview with him. But yeah, also a fan of Christo for sure.
Yep.
Um, and then last but not least, what are you up to now? Now you know you're coaching, but like, what would listeners be surprised by finding out about you?
Finding out about
Yeah,
me.
yeah, like what either hobby or whatever you're doing now what would surprise people to find out?
Uh, as a hobby, I'm a salsa dancer.
Nice.
I yes, 2 years ago, 2 years and a half years ago, 2.5 years ago, I decided to learn salsa dancing. And the reason I haven't danced before is because I came from a very religious background, and in that religion, like, dancing is bad. So I would always be the person in my family group. My family in Puerto Rico is very big, and all my cousins and all my grandmas always wanted me to dance, but my brother and I and my two parents were the only ones at a wedding or a birthday party that we would just sit down and not dance because of religious reasons. And then 2 years and a half, 2.5 years ago, I decided to take my first salsa class, and I became obsessed with it. And I went from 3 to 4 times a week, and now I have even social media, just me dancing with I do partner dancing. I dance with a partner.
Mhm.
So it's been incredible. It has changed my life. I am more I I am more confident in myself and how to approach people, specifically strangers, which that is very good. It's another way to distract myself from
Right.
uh, the digital workplace. Uh, and lastly, I think what I like about having different experiences besides animation, is that sometimes you can learn something from another field and translate that to your own field. So, for example, in dancing, I have a personal coach, and he will tell me about, okay, make this step, ta 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 ta, and I will make it ta 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 ta. Now, do that step, but in a romantic way. I was like, what does that even mean? It's like, oh, I'll show you. And then he'll show me how to do the same step, but in a romantic way. And then, okay, now we're going to do that, but with a tropical vibe. And now we're going to do that in a very elegant way. And then we're going to do it a little bit sloppy, and we're going to be doing it that. And I was like, huh, I think I can translate that to my animation uh, knowledge, that you can have the same tool, let's say a cube, as simple as that, and the cube, you can make it seem sad even though it's a cube. You can make a cube seem happy even though it's a cube. You can
Mm-hmm.
make it seem, you can express things through very common things. And I was like, I never saw it that way, but thanks to dancing, I see it now, and I'm just gonna translate that to them.
Nice. So do you also give salsa lessons? Can
I
people
do.
come find you? So they can kind of find you for portfolio reviews and construction as well as salsa lessons.
Well, if you live locally close to me, then sure. I am actually teaching at night. I
Oh,
found that.
nice.
I
I was
found that.
just kidding, but yeah, dude, yeah, perfect. Nice. So they can come to you th- by day. You can work on portfolio and business stuff, and then you can get a good workout in the
Yeah,
evening.
that's exactly right.
Cool. Right on. Well, thank you, Sam, for being on. I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your knowledge. Again, the links are in the show notes. So if you want to work with Sam, he's a great human being, a great creative. Hit him up, or even just follow him on all the socials and see what he's up to. And maybe you might catch him doing some romantic salsa.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on. This is another episode of Creative Leadership with Heart in the books. We will see you next time. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Creative Leadership with Heart. If you enjoyed the show, please like and subscribe. If you're ready to make huge, lasting change in your life, then what are you waiting for? What will your life look like if you took action today? What would it look like if you didn't? If you're serious and you're ready, book your free strategy session today and let's make your future a reality.